Wow.
What's up?
I just bought and financed a car through Carvana in minutes.
You? The person who agonized 4 weeks over whether to paint your walls eggshell or off-white bought and financed a car in minutes?
They made it easy. Transparent terms, customizable down and monthly. Didn't even have to do any paperwork.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Hey, have you checked out that spreadsheet I sent you for our dinner options?
Finance your car with Carvana and experience total control. Financing subject to credit approval.
Welcome to Mama Mystery. This is your host, Kelly Evans, with my co-host,
Austin Evans.
You know, I've been thinking, Austin, that, this podcast is titled Mama Mystery, but you've been on every episode.
So now it's Papa Mystery.
So now it's Mom and Pop's Mystery.
I don't know. That didn't flow as well.
Mommy and Daddy's Mystery. You don't like that one either.
I'm just going to... No, I'm not.
Well, maybe I should change the name.
No, Mama Mystery's good. Why? No. Everybody likes Mama Mystery.
Okay. Well, I've just been thinking about it because now I can't do an episode without you.
No, that's not true. You do good without me.
But I don't. I don't want to do them without you.
Well, that's really sweet.
So, anyway, today, this story has been a highly requested story. One that hits very close to home. I know most, if not all, of the listeners of this podcast are from around this area in Northwest Missouri. And the location of this murder was less than an hour away from here in Skidmore, Missouri.
Ooh.
Skidmore is a super small town with only around 300 people, and unfortunately, it has a reputation that is riddled with violence and murder. I've gotten a lot of requests just to cover this town alone because it seems to have this constant dark cloud over it. There's the murder of the town bully, Ken McElroy. There was actually a show made about him on like the Sundance Channel, and there's been books written about him. Do you know who I'm talking about? Maybe I'll cover that one someday. But it was crazy. He was shot to death in 1981 with at least 2 different guns while he sat in his truck in front of the local pool hall in broad daylight. And even though dozens of people saw the murder, nobody would admit to seeing who shot him. So nobody was ever charged for his murder.
That's weird.
It's like this whole town conspired to have this bully killed.
And then I know there was the pregnant person.
We'll get to that. So then in 2000, Greg Dragoo beat and dragged his girlfriend, Wendy Gillenwater, down several county roads right outside of Skidmore, which ultimately killed her. In 2001, Branson Perry disappeared after leaving his dad's house to return a pair of jumper cables, and nobody has seen him since. And then in 2004, the town of Skidmore made headlines again with the unthinkable murder of Bobbie Jo Stinnett, which is
so weird. I had no idea all this happened.
It's all in Skidmore.
That's weird.
Yeah. So anyway, Bobbie Jo Stinnett, that's who we're talking about today.
Okay.
So to begin this story, we kind of have to start with the perpetrator, which I don't usually like doing, but to understand this story, you kind of have to understand where the murderer kind of came from. And by no means am I trying to justify or, have compassion for the murderer, because no matter what your circumstances are, and I've said this before, your circumstances should never dictate your future. You ultimately decide how your future turns out. So no matter what happens to you, it's never an excuse to do what this person did, okay? But Lisa Montgomery lived in Melbourne, Kansas. And growing up, Lisa suffered from a chaotic household full of abuse, rape, and addiction. She was raped by her stepfather for years, and when she was 14, her mom found out about this and threatened her with a gun to her head. There were also allegations that she was sex trafficked and gang raped. So in an attempt to escape this situation, Lisa got married at the age of 18. The couple had 4 children, and then in 1990, Lisa had her tubes tied. And that's important. She had her tubes tied. Her first marriage inevitably failed, and shortly after the split, she married her second husband, Kevin, in year 2000. And I'm not sure if Kevin was aware of Lisa getting her tubes tied, but she would go on to claim that she was pregnant multiple times throughout their marriage. She would tell friends and family she was expecting, but in reality, this was an impossibility. So her pregnancies, quote, pregnancies, would always end in like devastating miscarriages. But obviously, she wasn't having miscarriages. She was never pregnant. And this is so weird because for someone to lie about something so crazy like that is so outlandish, but I know people who have lied about, one, being pregnant. I've known people to lie about having cancer. And people who go to that extent to garner sympathy or attention or whatever their excuse is, it's something I cannot wrap my head around. Yeah. But I've known at least 3 people who have lied about big things like that. And it's like, what the heck?
Mm-hmm. It's weird.
I don't get it. So anyway, in 2004, sad, lonely Lisa joins a chat group called Ratter Chatter. And this was a chat room for people who loved or were looking for little rat terrier dogs, which, no offense to rat terrier owners, but that is like my least favorite dog.
And you love dogs.
And I love dogs, but I've never met a rat terrier that I liked.
It's a hideous breed.
They're awful. I'm so sorry if you have a rat terrier. No offense. I just can't cuddle with a rat terrier. They bark. They're bony.
Ankle biters.
They're just. I mean, they're rat terriers. Like it's in the name.
They're a rat.
Oh man, I'm probably gonna get some hate for that, but I don't even care. I stand by what I said. I said what I said. Anyway, in this chat room, Lisa meets a woman named Bobbie Jo Stinnett. Bobbie Jo and her husband Zeb were dog breeders living in Skidmore, Missouri. They owned their own business called Happy Heaven Farms, where they sold the terriers that they bred. Lisa and Bobbie Jo bonded quickly through this chat room. However, Lisa didn't tell Bobbie Jo that her name was Lisa. She told Bobbie Jo that her name was Darlene Fisher. So Bobbie Jo told Darlene, or Lisa, that she was 8 months pregnant with her first child. And what do you know? Lisa says, hey, I'm pregnant too. She told Bobbie Jo she was also in her 3rd trimester, but that wasn't all. She had also told her friends, family, and husband that she was expecting again. And they all just believe her. So over time, Lisa tells Bobbie Jo that she is interested in buying one of her rat terrier puppies. So they arrange a place and time for Lisa to drive up to Skidmore and pick up the dog. On December 16th of 2004, Lisa drives all the way up to Skidmore and shows up at Bobbie Jo's house with a neon leash to pick up the dog.
This is already so weird.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine she's having a chat room with this person and telling her that she's pregnant, so to find out she's pregnant, and this is all so premeditated.
It's so premeditated.
It's creepy.
Yeah. And it makes me wonder how she really found her, because if she was already telling people she was pregnant and that her due date was in December, right around the same time that Bobbie Jo was due in December.
You know, she was probably on that chat room telling every person this.
Yeah.
To try to find somebody else.
I don't know.
Say, me too. I'm due in December too. Yeah, I'm looking for a dog.
And, you know, it's not uncommon for people to lie. Like, people lie all the time, but the extent of these lies is just beyond the realm of, like, any type of normal. I mean, lying, you shouldn't lie, but, like, to lie about something like this...
Freaking out there.
You're out of your freaking mind.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So when Bobbie Jo opens the door, she invites Lisa inside, and what happens next has never been confirmed by any witnesses, but investigators strongly believe that this is what happened. After inviting Lisa into her home, Lisa gets behind Bobbie Jo, throws a rope over her head and around her neck. She strangles Bobbie Jo until she is unconscious, and once she is, Lisa lays her down on the ground and pulls out a kitchen knife. She attempts to make one incision, then stops and tries again in a different spot below Bobbie Jo's belly button. She makes a jagged incision just deep enough to pull out Bobbie Jo's 8-month-old fetus, but not before Bobbie Jo actually wakes up and tries to fight back. Defensive wounds found on Bobbie Jo, coupled with the smearing of blood all over the room, indicate that at some point there was a struggle between the two women, and Bobbie Jo fought for her life. Ultimately, though, she succumbed to the blood loss and was too weak to fight. Lisa strangled her to death before finishing the barbaric C-section.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Can a kid even live through that? Like,
Yes.
holy
So,
crap. Okay, keep going.
an hour or so later, Becky Harper, Bobbie Jo's mom, was expecting Bobbie Jo to give her a ride to or from work, but couldn't get a hold of her. She would call and call, but Bobbie Jo would never answer. So Becky goes to her house and discovers Bobbie Jo on the floor of the living room, surrounded by blood. She calls 911 and tells the operator that it looks like her daughter's stomach exploded. Police arrive, and a deputy begins to perform CPR until the paramedics arrive. And when they do, the officer tells the EMT, the mom says she's 8 months pregnant. But when the EMT kneels down to assist, he finds the umbilical cord hanging out of her body, and it's been cut.
What?
He tells the officer, there's no baby here, you need to find the baby. So Bobbie Jo is rushed to St. Francis Hospital in Maryville, but she was pronounced dead prior to arrival. It didn't take long for investigators to find out who last saw Bobbie Jo. They logged onto her computer and saw the chat room with the information from Darlene Fisher, and just like that, they had their first lead. They knew if they were going to find Bobbie Jo's baby alive, they had to act fast, and they did. Within 24 hours, they located Lisa Montgomery at her home, and when she opened the door, this evil bitch was standing there holding the baby as if it were hers.
Lisa Montgomery.
Lisa Montgomery.
Oh, that's the chick. Wait, I'm confused. Everybody else is probably following. I'm not. Darlene, I thought you just said that the police got on there and logged on, and the last person she had contact with was
Darlene Fisher, because that's, Lisa said her name was Darlene Fisher. She gave her a fake name.
Got
remember?
it. Fake name.
Yeah.
So they find her, and it's actually Lisa.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, back on track.
Yep. So at first, Lisa told officers that it was her baby and that she had no idea what they were talking about. The police took the baby, gave her a complete medical exam, and determined that she was okay, and returned her to Bobbie Jo's husband, Zeb. When Lisa was arrested, she was charged with kidnapping resulting in death and was facing life in prison with the possibility of the death penalty. The defense tried to paint her as a victim of mental illness. However, when she was examined by a mental health professional, this doctor indicated that he did not believe she suffered from any mental disease or defect. He said she did not have a mental disorder and that she was just a manipulative, cunning liar. To prove this, evidence showed that Lisa had printed out someone else's ultrasound from the internet and pasted her name on the ultrasound to make it look like it was hers. And this proved that Lisa knew she wasn't pregnant and was lying to make it look like she was. She was also tested to determine if she suffered from a mental disorder, but the results showed that she lacked remorse, was manipulative, a pathological liar, and failed to accept responsibility. And I realized that by saying these things, it makes her sound like a narcissist or a sociopath or psychopath, but it's not the true definition of a psychopath. So the whole argument or defense that she was mentally ill didn't work. Friends and family of Lisa testified that Lisa told them she was pregnant with a due date of December 13th. Investigators found that in the days leading up to the murder, Lisa was Googling different forms of childbirth. The defense claimed that she was just curious about different forms of labor because she believed in her mind that she was pregnant. But the prosecution believed she was researching ways to induce labor on someone else in an effort to steal their baby. They also showed evidence that Lisa brought with her a knife, rope, and an umbilical cord clamp. Now here's where it gets weird. Apparently on December 17th, the day after the murder, while Lisa and her husband Kevin still had the newborn baby, they went around town showing off this baby as if it were theirs. Kevin has come out and said that he knew she lied a lot and lied about being pregnant before, but he believed her this time because she was showing signs of being pregnant. He said her belly had gotten bigger and she was having morning sickness, but Kevin had no idea that Lisa ever had her tubes tied. It wasn't until Lisa faked a pregnancy that Lisa's sister came out and said she's not pregnant. She had her tubes tied. But even after hearing this, he decided to believe his wife and stand by his woman and believed Lisa was truly pregnant this time.
And what, she went off and had a baby and didn't tell him?
Yeah, right? So I wondered about that too. When asked how Lisa gave birth to this child, she told Kevin that she went into labor while she was out shopping, rushed to the hospital, gave birth, and they released her shortly after. And this dumbass never questioned it. She went shopping, came home with a baby.
Oh my gosh.
Like, how dumb can you be? I understand that there's a lot of guys who don't know how things work and like the female body or whatever, pregnancy, whatever, okay? I get it. But how can you be that dumb?
Oh, that's ridiculous.
I can't wrap my head around that either.
Yeah.
So ultimately, a jury finds Lisa guilty for murder, and the jury recommends the death penalty. And here's the best part of this whole story. Her execution date is in 1 month. On December 8th, she will be executed by lethal injection, and she will be the 4th woman to be executed by the federal government, but the first in over 70 years. So in 1865, Mary Surratt was sentenced to death for planning to execute Abraham Lincoln, and she was hanged. In 1953, Ethel Rosenberg was electrocuted for spying on behalf of the Soviet Union. The 3rd woman, who grew up only 20 minutes from Skidmore, but in the same county, like Nottoway County, right? Her name's Bonnie Hetty. She was also executed in 1953 for kidnapping and murdering a 6-year-old boy from Kansas City whose father was a multimillionaire, and she asked for the biggest ransom in U.S. history. At the time, she demanded $600,000, which would be like $5.7 million today.
Oh my God.
And now here we are, just about a month, less than a month out from
Her getting executed.
her getting executed by lethal injection.
Wild. I mean, that's the most. I look what she did.
Yeah,
That's crazy. So, is this kid still alive?
she is alive
It's
and
a
well.
girl.
Yeah, it's a little girl.
Imagine that story. So, how old is she now? She's 20
2004,
years old now. Or
so
16 years old.
Yeah, she would be
Have you
16.
ever looked her up?
No, gosh, no. I mean, there's cases where I might look up like a parent or like a husband or whatever, but I do not want to, like, I don't even want to say her name.
No, and I wouldn't want you to talk to her and stuff. I just,
Yeah.
like, that is so.
But no, I didn't even look her up. I know her name, but I didn't bother trying to find her because I just can't even imagine. She's got a hard enough life as it is, just having that be the entrance into this world. Like,
That's your story.
That's horrible. And like I said in the beginning, your circumstances don't have to dictate your future. And I hope to God that her future is bright and, positive, and that she leads a good, positive life in honor of her mother. But, I mean, I just can't even imagine that. That's heartbreaking. And to know that her mom fought, I think it's bittersweet. Obviously she did not deserve to die, but to know that she died fighting for her, I mean, that's quite a memory
Oof.
to hold on
Gosh,
to.
these last couple have been like rough to hear.
Here's the thing. Any true crime story is probably not going to be super positive. And I try to remember why I am interested in this stuff. And usually it's because I am trying to get into, like, I guess just the human psyche, like what makes people tick, what makes people do something like this. And granted, she had a horrible upbringing. It doesn't excuse this type of behavior. I know plenty of other people who have had rough upbringings who have, become successful citizens in life.
So how long did it take the jury to decide that she was guilty?
I don't know.
Not
I
long,
didn't
I
look.
can't imagine.
I can't imagine it was long, though.
Nottoway County's got some fucked up people. It's pretty.
I know. So, yeah, I've had a lot of people ask me to do this case, and it's short, I know, but short and to the point. Yeah, it's to the point. I mean, I applaud the, investigators for finding her so quickly and finding the baby so quickly, because who knows? I mean, that could have been a horrible situation, too. There's a lot of times that babies get stolen and either they never get found or they do get found but not alive. And so at least there's a positive that she, the girl is still alive. But yeah, it's so crazy to think that this happened so close to home too.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And that there's people like this that walk the earth. And like, one question I have is like, how do you even, like weed out people like this? How could anyone have known that this was what she was going to do? If she kept it to herself, that's the thing. Like,
It was all inside her head.
it was all in her head, but she had a plan. She knew what she was going to do. And
That's just like the one last episode where the kids had the whole thing planned
Yeah.
with this movie they're going to do.
And at any point, someone or something in their mind could have said, hey, this isn't a good idea. Let's stop.
Let's stop, but they don't.
But they don't. It's crazy. So anyway, that is the story of Bobbie Jo Stinnett and yeah,
Skidmore Moe.
Skidmore Moe. And I'm sure there will be a few others if we cover Ken McElroy or Branson Perry. Branson Perry is a really interesting one, but I feel like that one's going to take me a while since it's still a mystery. There's so much to probably uncover. This one all happened within a matter of a day, so it's pretty short.
Where's she incarcerated?
She is incarcerated in Fort Worth, Texas. Carswell or something like that. It's like a medical correctional facility down in Texas. And then I think she's getting executed in Indiana. But either way, we know where she's going.
Never seen the light of day.
Don't wear a sweater because it's going to be pretty hot where you're headed. And with that, we leave you until next time.
Rate, review, share. Mama Mystery out.